in this video. Today, here with my new Bach 50A3, just kidding. This is not my instrument. I'm borrowing this from a friend for an upcoming video here in the next few days about different valve types. And obviously this has different valves than anything else I have. I actually only own two different kinds of valves. I have rotary valves and Thayers, so I wanted another horn that would kind of fill that out. So I'm going to talk today about what I think is the best stock Bach trombone, and about some of its quirks and features, some of the things that are good about it, some of the things that are bad about it. I'm playing it right now with my Corporation slide that is really bad right now, but plays really well with this instrument. So first let's talk about how good it is. The 50A3, A standing for Hagman in this case. Bach didn't want to have a 50H3 because H is what Kahn uses for all their trombones. 88H, 60H, etc. They can't start with an H because then people get confused, so they start with the next letter, which is an A. The 50A3 has Hagman valves from Switzerland, made by René Hagman. Of course, I'm just pronouncing that the American way. It's probably super fancy and stuff. These are a very different design than anything else out there, other than I think the Shire's True Bore, which is very similar, except it's on its side, the core is made out of a different material and stuff. It's got the same design. It's got kind of the same, I guess, method of routing the air, but the way they do it is differently. So this and True Bores are similar, but the way these are built especially is very different than True Bores. And of course they're on a different direction than True Bores are from Shires. And basically when they're straight, there's kind of almost a straight tube through the valve, and when you turn them, there's kind of a not straight, but more straight than a rotor valve and more open than a rotor valve tube. And I'll show you guys when we do the valve video. These are very good valves, I would say. They're just more open than rotors. They're just kind of like easy to play. They're not nearly as open as Thayers are, not as free-blowing, but they're just really easy to play. They sound good. There's not a lot of like difference in the sound. You can actually get a lot of difference in the sound from Thayers and rotors. So if you go both directions on the spectrum, you get a lot of different sounds. These kind of preserve everything in the middle, I guess. I don't know how to put it. They have pretty good action. There's not a lot of movement here. That's not always the case. My friend has a Courtois that has a very long throw on the F valve for some reason, and this really doesn't. This is pretty awesome. I'm going to keep talking about Hagmans for a second, even though I shouldn't. We'll talk about it in the valve video, but these do take a lot of maintenance to keep in working condition. That's one of the downsides to the Hagman, I think. My Thayers do take a lot of work too. Even right now, I think they're a little bit slow. And I just took them apart in a video like 2 days ago, so I don't know, I think they're about equal. Maybe Hagman's a little bit better. Hagmans are more prone to damage because they're very thin casing and stuff. We'll talk about that in the valve video. Obviously, this is a Bach 50. It has a normal slide. It comes with a normal slide too. It's in the case somewhere over there. And the slide this horn goes with is actually pretty good. I like this one. And it's just got a yellow bell, normal tuning slide, all that kind of stuff. And what you end up with is just like, I think, the best stock Bach 50 you can buy. And that's not saying a whole lot because stock Bachs from the factory can be really good, really bad, etc. But I think this is the best one you can just get straight out of the factory, assuming you get one with like a good slide and stuff. Because it's just so even, it's easy to play. It's very easy to play in all ranges. The valves are fast. This is independent, so you get all sorts of options with that. It's open. You can play loud. You can play soft. Pedals on this are actually really good. They feel better than they do on my Thayer horn. I don't know if they sound better or if they're actually easier to play, but they just feel a little better. I feel like they resonate more. The Hagman instrument is pretty light. The valves themselves are not very heavy. They're pretty hollow. There's not a lot to them. And the tubing and stuff is normal tubing. It's not very heavy. There's not a lot of extra bracing. So the 50A3 is actually a pretty light instrument as double valve, modern valve instruments go. I would say It's actually pretty comparable to this 50B2 in weight. And it's pretty well balanced too. It doesn't have these straight up back balance that my Thayer valve horn does, which I'm used to and I kind of like, but it's not unbalanced. It's just, man, these are good horns. That's what I want to say about the 50A3. The problem is, if it's an older one, and this one is an older one, if some of you guys are sitting there at your computers with a tuner, you're going, Aiden, you're like 20 cents flat. Guess what? I know. This tuning slide is all the way in. And with a Bach slide, I cannot get to 440, straight up. Even if it's like 75, 80 degrees, I can barely edge up to 440. And I play pretty well on the pinch. I've talked about that in previous videos. But there's still no excuse for me not being able to get up to 440 with pretty standard mouthpiece of today. And the problem is the horn is just too long. I think I may have talked about this just barely in previous videos. But let's talk about why the 50A3 is too long. So I have all these here, not just to show off, surprisingly, but to give you an example as to why this is too long. Let's take this off. So here we have 50A3 bell section. Let's put it to the side for the moment. And let's look at all my other bell sections. I have 50B with no tuning slide. I sent that off to somebody to trade for another tuning slide. If I put these next to each other, you'll see that with the tuning slide, this would be the same length as this. These are going to be the same. The receiver is in this plane right here. There's no difference there. Cool. Let's compare the 50B to 50T3. This is custom, by the way, so this doesn't necessarily have to be the same length. But if you put it here, these are the same. They end up in the same place. And if you compare the last one to the last one, the 50B2 to the 50T3, also in the same place. That bell is not straight across the thing. So these are all the same length. The tuning slides all end up in the same place. Even this one, when it has a tuning slide, they're all the same length. Great, now we know that. So let's put the 50A3, now that we know these are all the same, we can compare to any one of these and it'll be the same comparison. Let's put this up against the 50B2. You may have noticed a difference. This is a good inch farther this way than this receiver. Now think about what that's going to do. That's going to put the bell on this instrument, since this dimension right here from bell rim to receiver is shorter, that means the bell is actually closer to you when you play. So one, that changes where the bell is in relation to the slide, so your positions you're used to, if you're looking or maybe feeling, which you shouldn't do, are different. That's not good already, because this is just a Bach. Why would it be different? You may have noticed that the tuning slides are still in the same place, so these are still the same. It's not like this is shorter. No, this is just longer right here. So if you add this length, one, the bell's in a different place, and two, the horn is longer. The entire thing is longer. Bachs already are pretty long instruments. I talked about that with this horn, I think. Bachs are long. With a stock Bach playing slide on a Bach, I play pretty much with the tuning slide all the way in, and I barely get up to 440. And that's just kind of how it is. And I play with an Edwards slide normally, so it's not too much of an issue for me. But with this, it's just too long. It's an inch. You have straight up an inch of extra length. And so I've talked to some people who have worked with the Bach company and stuff, not for the company, but with the company, to fix this issue. Apparently Bach, when they bought valve sets for these instruments, just went, okay, here we go, we'll just put them on, cha-ching, and started selling them. And the Hagman company was like, hey, by the way, you're going to have to change a couple of dimensions or it's not going to work. And they did not do that. So the problem is, this little piece right here, the gooseneck, there's lots of gooseneck on this instrument because it's dependent, obviously. But this smaller piece, because it is independent and have longer valves, it's called the gooseneck. And on this instrument, it's an inch too long. Basically, there should be almost no gooseneck, just a little bit. And this entire thing, the whole valve section, this bell brace needs to be moved this way, up towards the tuning slide by about an inch. And that's the problem. On modern horns made since, I don't know, maybe mid-2000s or something like that, This has been fixed. The gooseneck is much shorter and the whole thing is just scooted that way. And the problem has been solved. The problem is all these horns were made like this and have not been fixed. You can cut the tuning slide if you really want, because of course Bach tuning slides are really long. You can cut this tube, you can cut this tube, and you can cut the receivers on the bell section also. But that messes with a bunch of this tubing. It kind of changes how the horn plays a little bit, and it gives you less wiggle room, obviously. Not that you need all 2 inches of wiggle room to play like this. But the actual solution is to cut this gooseneck and scoot the whole thing this way. This is not my horn, so I'm not going to have it done. But I'm going to suggest to my friend that he takes this to somebody, gets this shaved down a little bit, and the whole thing scooted back so he can play it in tune. So there we go, Bach 50A3. I'll talk more about the valves and how they compare to the other valves and how they're built and stuff in my valve video upcoming this week. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time.